For all of you out there listening, if you are in the market for any kind of software development needs, check out Studio NoCode. It's our agency that's built on Bubble experts with nearly a decade of experience building all kinds of Bubble apps: marketplace, social network, payroll company, catering business, data room, ad tech, legal tech. We got a little bit of everything. We've seen it all, and that helps us translate all of our knowledge into your app to build the best product for your customers. We built it professionally, we built it to be secure, and we built it to scale. And we're going to do all these things on time and on budget. So if you are looking for help getting off the ground, getting something to market, or anything in between, give us a call or an email or a carrier pigeon or whatever you want. Studio-nocode.com. We'll probably be there.
Welcome to This Week in No Code plus AI. I'm your host, DJ Englert. Here with my co-host, David Pell. We have another fantastic show for you this week. David, why don't we get right into the news? What do we got?
This is another one of these weeks, if you must live under a rock if you don't know what we're about to talk about. But Apple now again reclaiming their most valuable company territory. They have announced at their worldwide developers conference the new Apple Intelligence, the rebrand of AI to just be Apple.
I don't hate it, actually.
I think that's the cleverest thing they could have done.
Right, exactly.
Like, everyone talks about AI. They can use AI internally and just mean
Right.
Apple Intelligence.
Yep, exactly.
And in fact, it really is, right? Like, they have just put their spin on how we're using these generative models. Again, like, the way they speak about AI in this presentation, I think it's worth really listening to the words that they're using about generative models. They're not really using like buzzwords, RAG, LLMs. They're like,
Yeah.
what does this mean to me? Because, half the audience are bankers and investors who are not,
Right.
techie.
And even the use cases that they had were like, grabbing stuff from your email and your calendar and everything using AI to say, hey, when is my mom's plane landing, right?
Yeah.
So a very basic use case, but just using AI to make that more accurate.
Yeah, there are so many new things between generative writing tools that they're adding into Note. They're adding, image playgrounds to make it really easy to make images. In Notes, in presentations, in all of their native applications. Again, a lot of what they show is like how it works in Apple product, right? And that's what all of their presentations have been. It's always about their stuff. Like, they're not showing what is possible through a partner app like that. I mean, sometimes they do. There are some examples, like they showed, like Superhuman was using it somehow. But most of the time they're showing how you use it internally. Now, there are some other things they talked about with Siri and how they've refreshed the design. They talk about the overall privacy. They talk about the iPad and the calculator. But the thing that really, I think, will open people's eyes to AI is the ability to get context from what's on your screen. Yeah, I think it's cool. Also, they can get contact information. They can look at past emails. But being able to basically have someone sitting over your shoulder looking at the same thing that you're looking at and use that to understand what is most important to you at this moment when you're getting information, I think is actually pretty cool, right? Like, they showed an example of making a PowerPoint where, you drew an image. They're adding an image into this PowerPoint, but it's all based on what else is on the text on that slide. And that is really cool, so that you don't have to give it the context. It just grabs it.
Yeah, it's, I'm up and down on this one. I feel like this should have come last year. I feel like they're pretty much a year behind here. I love what Android and Google are doing in the sense of like, you want to take the best photos. You take 5 photos and it just combines that one photo together, right? Like little things like that with AI,
Magic
I think
Eraser, they talked about that.
are
Google's
really
had it for a long
helpful.
time. Yeah.
And it's just kind of getting there with Apple, and they're still kind of behind. I love that they are taking a wholesome approach. with the calculator example that I brought up, the big story is they've never had a calculator on the iPad. They always said if they do a calculator on an iPad, they want to do it right. And now this is actually pretty cool. You can kind of write, a math equation on the iPad, and then AI will fill in the answer for you.
Mhm.
So gone are the days where you can't help your kids with math homework because now you can. They
Right.
just help themselves. So
Yeah.
that's advantageous. But I think that one of the biggest storylines also that we've come out of this is one, they're going to use OpenAI to power a lot of their AI, right?
I don't think they're using a lot of OpenAI at all. They're only using it for things that are, like, not Apple content. Like,
Okay.
it's all, not it like, most of it is coming through the Apple models themselves.
Okay.
They have built their own semantic meaning and, like, contextualization engine to understand where things are coming from, but they're not actually sending all of that data into OpenAI to do much of anything.
I think it's that line that is still a little unclear of like what is OpenAI and what isn't. And it's great that, they're partnering with a company like OpenAI with the
Mhm.
capability, but with that becomes a lot of security potential pitfalls. You saw Elon Musk this week get really vocal on that, essentially saying that if this is true, what's going to happen, then he won't allow any iPhones to be used at any of his companies and that his employees would need to check them at the gate kind of thing because he just can't trust the security because if OpenAI gets access to the data on your iPhone, and we can't really trust OpenAI to that extent yet, then where are we with data and security? Of course, Apple
Mhm.
has supposedly taken a very high stance on this, but they're also using models that aren't theirs for this
Yeah, I mean,
some extent.
yeah, I saw that back and forth from Elon's take, and some people were like, "That's just not how it's gonna work." I think, um, I don't know, Apple has always been a very privacy first, at least marketing wise. They've mentioned privacy a lot
Yeah.
and being able to build and separate these two worlds together. Um,
But I think they're behind the
yeah.
times now, and I think that they might make some sacrifice. I'm speculating here, but
Mhm.
because they are behind in so many ways, and the market is really calling for us, they might take some shortcuts to get there, which maybe they wouldn't have done in the past. And we don't know yet. I don't think
Yeah.
the line is very clear yet. It's still very new, but I think there is a lot of potential pitfalls with security with something like this. The amount of data that could be accessed from your phone going to over onto the servers of OpenAI for hundreds of millions of people.
Yeah, I think one of the things that, people have brought up as being problematic is that if someone were to get your phone and hack into it, because of all of these things that you can do, it becomes a privacy problem where, like, you can really act on behalf of anyone because you have all the context. Like, Apple
Mhm.
has the context now, and, I can say, "Oh, ask my mom about this." Like, what was I talking with my mom about last? And
Mhm.
that way, you know, um when a hacker is calling or a scammer is calling, they have all this information about you, right?
Mhm.
They can pretend to be certain people. I mean, maybe. Um, uh,
We're
yeah,
yeah,
I'd be
we're
very surprised if everything is released onto the server or to give it to OpenAI.
you know, I watched Her again this week because I just needed to get back there. And it really has so many revolutionary concepts of like it's an AI first operating system, right? And that AI first operating system is like, hey, checking your emails, writing emails on behalf, reading emails on your behalf, taking actions on your behalf, and kind of helping you organize, like access to all your data, helping you organize as like an agent in that way. Which I feel like we're getting there.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things that I took away from it is just the point of like, obviously, there was a romantic thing with him and
Mhm.
the AI, the operating system along the way. Even those relationships started to become a little bit of the norm, and then it was exposed that they have this operating system has this relationship with hundreds of other people, kind of thing, and then eventually the operating system just gets so smart on its own that it can't even be with a human anymore kind of thing, and it just
Yeah.
leaves. And it's like, well, first off, the problem that I have with that is like you paid for this operating system. There's supposed to be that kind of relationship there, and all of a sudden your operating system is too smart for you now, and it just leaves you, and it's just like,
Yeah.
there's a lot that's coming up here, and that's a movie, of course, but there's a lot of parallels as well, with this intelligence and getting it as smart as it can to train itself to essentially rewrite its code to give it more abilities and to all this kind of stuff. And
This
now with Apple Intelligence, it's like it's getting there a little bit as it's more integrated into the core operating system of the phone.
I like thinking about, that movie as like this is part of the chicken and egg problem, right? So there's been writing on the wall for a while, like before that movie came out, that AI and autocomplete would help you write emails, and that you could send messages for people. The writers and producers took that to the next level of now they're interacting and like it's more human like. Now AI has obviously caught up to some of that functionality, and you see like AI is chatting for dating kind of purposes,
Yeah.
and you wonder like, did people start putting AI dating bots together because they had also heard of that idea from her, like from the movie, and that goes, oh, this is what will happen because that's what the movie said would happen, and now we can do it, so we make it happen, and like, which is what's feeding what, right?
Yeah. Even one of the things that I even took away is that earbud that they had in there. It's like maybe you'll just start someone will develop an earbud that you can have in your ear all day and is comfortable enough. And that might be the next form of technology to take AI to the next level because we do interact with LLMs that way in like a voice way. And so
Yeah,
there's a lot of things that could come from it.
we could spend
But
hours talking about
yeah, why
what
why
we
don't we
think
move
will
on to the
happen, but
next
yeah.
one, which is Descript. If any of you guys are looking to learn more about Bubble, whether you're a beginner or a professional looking to get certifications and take your skills to the next level, you got to check out NoCode Alliance. It's been a personal project of mine for the last 2 to 3 years. I have 5 different courses there, all focusing on Bubble and taking you from zero to pro. And these courses tell you everything you need to know to start earning 6 figures as a Bubble developer. So go to nocodealliance.org, either get started with the beginner course or take our package and go from zero to pro in the next 3 to 6 months, and you won't regret it. That's nocodealliance.org. Back to the show. It launched Underlord. So for those that don't know, Descript is an
Underlord.
AI video editing system. It's one of the ones that I use. I really enjoy it. Underlord itself is a weird name. They've had a lot of AI features for a long time, but I guess now they've just repackaged and branded them. And some of the AI features to note are like um, studio sound, which makes your audio sound great. It can automatically remove filler words. So whenever I say it could just go through and cut those out automatically. If
Let's
there's
see
like a
how this
long
comes
pause,
out if you have those
if
words in there on the other side of
there's a
this minute.
long pause, it could shorten it. They can even correct your eye contact. So if my eye contact is a little bit off, it will correct my pupils to increase the eye contact, green screen, and all that other stuff. It really is awesome. I was editing a video for one of our softer videos this last week, and I just fubbed a line, totally fubbed it, right? And so I went into the editor and just had AI regenerate my voice saying that word correctly, and it just did it, and it saved me a whole bunch of time, and it works really well, right? And so there's a lot of different things for it. Underlord is a weird name, but if you're creating media, it's not a sponsorship, but I would say Descript is a great platform, and it does save you a lot of time. So any news
That
from
is
that,
cool.
David?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really curious. I was talking to a friend the other day about like making content. And we talked about this a little bit last week in the context of that Google Doc that went around, the end of software. Making media has becomes a cost of almost zero. And with tools like AI, it will be making great media, great content will go to almost zero. Right. Like, sure, you pay for these subscriptions, but
Right.
like it's nothing like
Oh, wow.
hiring editors sitting in a dark room to
Same
make
thing
this
for
content.
software development.
Yeah, and so I'm curious. I think it's really cool to see all these things happen. Yeah, I should play around with it. I just don't know what other content I'd make.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So what's going on with Microsoft Power Automate Ads AI?
Yeah, so Microsoft Power is a like an RPA platform, robotic process automation.
Okay.
I think that's what RPA stands for. Yeah, robotic process automation. This was like, the original agent actor, right? You give it instructions, it learns how to use a program, and then it can follow these like oh, click this cell, type this number, do this, right? Now, what they've basically done is added AI on top of this to make the whole process a lot less brittle. One of the problems with robotic process automation was that if the UI were to change, the process would break, right? Or if
Mm.
something were to be a little different this time, the process wouldn't complete. And there were issues. And so it was like, you know, the early automation. This is the next level automation. And honestly, I haven't used Microsoft Power Automate to use anything. I would
It's a
check it
no
out.
code and workflow platform, right?
Yeah, it is a bit no code. It's really meant for like businesses to automate workflows.
Okay.
It feels
Yeah.
like one of these features that like it's kind of like Basecamp. It
Yeah.
seems to be have this huge following, but I've never met anyone who's used it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do they use these big things? I'm sure it's being used somewhere. I'm curious to see. Um, yeah, but like, I think these tools, it would be good to know, right? Like how they actually work. So if anyone's used this tool out and listening, let us know how it is. I'd love to see a recording of it. If anyone can grab a like a screenshot or something, I'd be super curious to see how well this works. Um, yeah, this should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I got nothing much to say there. I have a couple other just random pieces of news. I believe OpenAI is restarting the robotics division,
Mm,
and is going to take a more active stance there. They had it at one point, shut it down. They're bringing that back. Also, a competitor to Sora has come around too. I think it's called
mm.
Klinger. Is it like that?
Cling.
Kling, right? And it's
Yeah.
a model by like a Chi It's not like the Chinese government. It's backed by the Chinese government, but it's gained a lot of popularity this week as being competitive to Sora. They released some videos out there, and it was really, really good. From my
No.
understanding, it's heavily and funded by the Chinese government, and so that's happening. I also was reading about that the U.S. is trying to prevent a lot of other companies to compete at an ML level, like very high. Like they're Saudi Arabia is just recently invested in a Chinese company, an AI company, to build more LLMs at the level of OpenAI. And the US government is essentially trying to discourage that for a lot of reasons. They want to be ahead in this way. And so it's been a very sensitive thing along the lines of like where the Saudi Arabia company was essentially said, hey, you're not allowing us to invest in this tech, so we're going to invest here. But if some reason that this opens up in Washington, we will divest here and go here. Like it's this weird
Yeah.
political thing that's happening right now with funding all around the world. Of everyone knows AI is the next thing, and everyone's been working on AI for a long time. But now funding has reached an all-time high. Compute needs have reached an all-time high, and there's a lot of different defenses happening with different governments around the world to make sure that they're kind of positioned to be at the top of it and have that advancement
No.
and trying to like play defense from other countries in another way.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stakes right now. Things are really hot right now in the defense community. I follow on Twitter one of these open source intelligence uh accounts,
Yeah,
right? And they're always posting whatever they can find online. And a couple weeks ago, something came out that I think Hezbollah was talking about, and we're not going to talk into politics or stances on things, but Hezbollah had posted something about how they had like attacked a U.S. aircraft carrier and like sunk it in the ocean. And like, you look at the image and, the guy was like, no, it's impossible. Here's what all these things. Like, this was obviously a doctored photo. But when you have tools like these super realistic videos, and the
yeah,
reason why they put that out was, to show, hey, look how strong we are. We did this thing to get everyone riled up about, the success and everything going on.
yeah.
With ultra realistic videos, like you can really spread propaganda
Even
really
more.
fast, right?
Yeah,
And lots of people will get worried. Like, Americans will get really concerned that actually a group has attacked us, right? Or
yeah.
our military abroad. And, I think
We'll probably
it
see some
becomes
of this too with
problematic.
the upcoming political cycle
Yeah, it
for the
becomes really
presidency as
problematic.
well, with bots getting more sophisticated, all this kind of stuff. There's a lot that can be done, unfortunately, for the
Yeah,
better and worse.
yeah.
So
And so it is I think that's one of the reasons why I think this is going to be an interesting problem. for the U.S. government, for every government to solve. I don't know what the right answer is. Yeah, well, we're gonna have to monitor this closely, I think.
We will, and we'll monitor it every week here on This Week and No Code and AI. We don't have an interview segment for you this week, so it's going to be short and sweet for our news segment. But catch us next week. We do have one lined up, and I think it's a pretty great person. So I think
Hmm.
you want to touch back in with us. Otherwise, please support us how you can. Let people know about the podcast. Share it on socials. Leave us a review. Comments what kind of content you're looking for. Really appreciate all the support you've given us so far. But otherwise, David,
See you next week in No Code.
see ya.